I live in a middle low-class neighborhood in the Caribbean. It's a quiet place where nothing happens. The type of place people go and retire to and sip pina coladas all day. However, a few houses next to mine lived a family that was not like the rest. They had the biggest house on the street and lived luxuriously. Their kids would play with me, especially the smallest girl we all nicknamed Tiny. Tiny was 5 when I was 11, and she was always at my house. I knew my mom and the neighbors were concerned about a 5-year-old being all day outside and not arriving at her house until midnight on school days, but it was a quiet place where nothing happened, so no one got worried. When Tiny turned 6, her parents threw a giant birthday party for her and all of the neighborhood kids were invited. I wanted to go. They had bouncy houses, water slides, and everything a kid would want to play with. But my parents did not allow me to go. I never knew why. I suppose because my mom didn't know her mom. I remember feeling very sad because everyone was there and I was playing all alone at my house. After the birthday, things went back to normal. One day we were all playing and talking about what our parents did for work. We asked Tiny and her siblings, but none of them knew what they did except he traveled a lot and was always at meetings. I didn't pay much attention and we all continued on with our day. One night, we were sitting on the street and we started hearing loud pops coming from Tiny's house. I will never forget that day. The neighbors, including my mom, came out, rushing us inside, yelling it was gunshots. Some of us got in my house and we stayed there as my next-door neighbor, a cop, ran towards Tiny's house. All we saw after the gunshots were a black van rushing down the street and almost killing a dog. Some men entered the house. Tiny and her siblings wanted to check what was going on, but everyone forbade them to go. All I remember was a bunch of cops and ambulances a few minutes later, and the next day I never saw Tiny or her siblings again. For a couple of months, the house sat empty, but black vans and strange men kept coming into the neighborhood door to door, asking for any information about the man and his children. No one in the neighborhood spoke about it. I know the cops asked me about Tiny and the kids and if they ever said something weird about his dad and mom, but I was only 11 and more concerned about playing Mario Kart Wii than about what happened that night. Years passed and the story faded away. Now that I'm grown up, I asked the neighborhood, the cop, what went down that night, as there were rumors that the guy died. He said that night the man got a gun emptied in his skull and the wife was gravely wounded, but she survived, because he was a drug lord that was going to make a deal with the police to turn his rival gangs and some other people to the cops. The men in the van that were going door to door wanted to know where his kids and wife were also to shut them up. As for the kids, his oldest son was found dead a few hours away in a neighboring town, his car set ablaze. His other children are now living in other countries under witness protection programs. I just hope, wherever Tiny is, that she's doing okay and that her family got the help they needed. Update: the wife was shot in the leg and it made her to cause massive blood loss, but was overall fine. This is the first major news on my town besides the Kumoy massacre in the 70s, where a prominent woman was hatched to death alongside her adult daughter by her daughter's husband. The news are in Spanish. Also, I got an update on Tiny. She's fine. I don't know in which country she's in, but she's called the neighbors in the past few years, but she's been doing fine and she's grown up and has a kid. Any theories? Leave them in the comments below. And remember to like and subscribe. Thank you, and good night.